Hello everyone and welcome to Clickheads. I'm Eddie, and today we're going to be talking about the series of power moves Microsoft is making to dominate the next console generation. Firstly, a few things that nobody can really call controversial. Sony won the PS4 Xbox One era, and they did that by focusing in on what gamers actually wanted. If you can cast your mind back to when the current gen was still brand new, Sony got their pitch exactly right, while Xbox was trying to make their campervan-sized VCR into an all-in-one media device. Sony zeroed in on what gamers care about, and that's high quality games. It's actually quite shocking to look back at just how wrong Xbox got their planning. Gamers didn't and don't care about watching the NFL on their console. They hardly watch TV, let alone sports. Sony invested in development, and it bore fruit with an exclusive game library that Microsoft couldn't hope to compete with. Another factor was that arguably both consoles were underpowered on release, but the PlayStation's deficiencies were less obvious. Release titles might have run at spotty frame rates, but at least they weren't so obviously in lower resolutions like the Xbox ones. This is a big part of why the industry's obsession with performance leads a lot of the conversation surrounding the incoming generation. Neither player wants a repeat of the meh reception the last generation got in terms of power. As I said, it really is quite shocking when you look back at how badly Xbox dropped the ball, especially when you consider how much of an advantage they had in the 360 era, at least in the West. I have more hairs on my head than Microsoft sold Xboxes in Japan, but that's another story. The story in that generation was the reverse. Xbox was an industry leader when it came to online gaming, and for Sony it was a bit of an afterthought, and they seriously suffered for that. Both these companies have taken it in turns to neglect forward thinking, and one can't help but look at what's coming next in that context, looking for where the complacency will punish either one of them. I can tell you one thing though, it is very clear to me that Xbox have done some serious soul searching. If I had to put money on it, internally they must have admitted to themselves that they lost the last console war, because everything that they have been doing for the last couple of years suggests they're coming to play and playing to win. The first thing that I'm going to highlight is this new rumour surrounding a Windows mode for the Xbox Series X. Games Radar reported on the rumour, along with the usual caveats regarding unconfirmed information. The rumour is that the new console might have the capacity to operate in Windows 10, giving users access to online stores of Steam and Epic. Now that would not only make the possible game library accessible to Xbox players much larger, but as they also point out, some key PS4 exclusives do also get PC releases, although admittedly on a delayed basis. They highlight Detroit Become Human as an example, a game that I really enjoyed, and potentially even Horizon Zero Dawn, a game that helped Sony maintain its exclusive game reputation. If the rumour is true, that is genuinely game-changing. Sony might get the games first, but you'll still be able to play these tentpole releases on Xbox at some point. There is also another factor to this. As a PC gamer that came from console, I've often thought, I wish I'd made the switch sooner. There were just so many barriers of entry that I put off learning mouse and keyboard and buying a more expensive setup because what I was playing on didn't seem to be a bad experience by any means. That all changed when I saw a high refresh rate monitor for the first time, something I still think will utterly surprise console-only gamers when the next generation hits, but I'm not a typical use case. By comparison, I'm much more hardcore than the general console population. I mainly play FPS, etc, etc. But if the new Xbox can run Windows and therefore play games with mouse and keyboard and high refresh rates, allegedly up to 120Hz, a whole generation of console gamers are not going to have those barriers of entry to them for trying out PC gaming for the first time. Sony can't do that. The PS5 can't offer that as it stands, not without paying Microsoft licensing, which means that they probably would choose not to. They are, after all, the company that doesn't even show the Xbox logo in a Call of Duty Modern Warfare crossplay lobby, a remarkably petty expression of their position on the larger issue of crossplay and cross-save features of modern games. And what's encouraging is that despite it still only being a rumour, it is believable in the context of how forward-thinking Xbox have been in recent years. To their credit, they have always been encouraging of features like crossplay, even before it was cool. The retort to that would be, well, if you had no great exclusives of your own, you'd be open to the idea as well, which is somewhat fair and hilarious. But it's not just this new rumour that makes me think Xbox is playing to win. As Dave Thier argues in this excellent article for Forbes, Xbox may have the future of gaming in in the palm of their hands. Their strategy is multifaceted, but most of it surrounds their Xbox Games Pass, which not only is currently fully operational, but set to be expanded on in the future. Trying to be the Netflix of gaming is not a new idea, and Sony have made great efforts to rival this with PSN Plus. As Dave points out, it is an idea others can copy, but Xbox is definitely in the lead. With Games Pass, they essentially say, here is a curated list of some of the best games on the market like Gears 5, Witcher 3 and Grand Theft Auto 5 available to play for a subscription fee well within budgetary concerns, certainly much cheaper than paying for the games individually at the user's discretion. So when you buy an Xbox Series X, the task of finding out what game to get included with it is removed. With Game Pass, you can take your pick of many titles that would otherwise be competitors for outright purchase. The value inherent of that proposition to the actual buyers of consoles, like parents, should not be lost on anyone, and frankly makes Google's Stadia strategy look ridiculous. A subscription fee and pay full price for games? Whoever thought that would work? Speaking of Stadia and cloud streaming in general, Xbox has its own service, xCloud, in beta as we speak. Unlike Google, they have years of industry experience behind them, and my bet is that it will launch properly and be working well ahead of time, because that's what Xbox have been doing, taking care of business, setting up forward-thinking infrastructure to serve the needs that gamers actually have. A further example of that is how they are dealing with cross-generation and backwards compatibility, and the irony of this situation should not be lost on anyone considering Xbox's checkered past when it came to backwards compatibility. A lot of news sites reported on this with a negative slant. Don't expect Xbox Series X exclusive titles for a few years. That sounds bad, like it'll be a continuation of their poor exclusive games record. However, what this really means is that for future titles, there will be versions you can play on the newer systems and the old together. The Series X will very likely run the best version available of a game on console, but it won't put up barriers between friends who upgrade at different times, which is a much more progressive step than it's being reported as. That strikes me as a slightly odd editorial choice from news outlets, at least in my opinion. So let's finally talk about the elephant in the room. All the forward thinking and serious infrastructure investment won't mean a thing if they don't get the quality of games to compete. They'll get the best of what is available everywhere, obviously, but the harshest lesson that they must have confronted from the last generation is the fact that above all, gamers care about the quality of games on their system. So just like Sony did before them, Microsoft went on a game studio acquisition binge. This is a long-term project. It won't immediately bear fruit, but by investing so much money into game development, Xbox are taking seriously where they had the biggest disadvantage. We can't know all the games that will be released, and it is possible that spending money doesn't yield results. It's always a bit of a gamble, but everything they're doing strategically is so much more on point this time around. That says to me, Sony can't be complacent, and the overall winners are gamers themselves. Competition is very good in this context. I never thought I'd see the day when the corporate interests in gaming are fighting to bring value to the consumer. Now, as a PC gamer myself, I don't really have much skin in the game besides what cloud service I might subscribe to in the future to play games that are actually platform exclusive. I just find it interesting how much heat Xbox are bringing. Here's hoping Sony respond with some serious moves yet unreleased. To be fair, they do still have Last of Us 2 and Final Fantasy VII Remake up their sleeve, so perhaps they think that's enough. But my question is, will it be by the end of the generation's life cycle? Time will tell. And that's about it for today. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you like the content on this channel, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you get notified when we upload. Until next time.